Back at it with the results of Euro JPY longs that I placed on the 10th. Yeah, the 10th, which was on Wednesday. Yeah, it officially hit my stop loss, and I have officially failed the second attempt of me trying to pass the challenge. So the account rule violation, I went maximum overall loss limit exceeded, so I went over the limit. I mean, yeah. So my balance was 89,900 after losing the trade. Yep. So second try failed. There's a lot of things that I learned from this second try. A lot of trades that could have been avoided. Better. Just better trades. Honestly, a lot of trades could have been avoided. I wasn't just thinking in the moment. I was just being too emotional or thinking about the past, thinking about the future and stuff like that, and not focusing in the present moment. But yeah, this trade hit stop loss around 5 a.m. of Thursday, 6/11/2026. And I will explain if I did any mistakes. I shouldn't be afraid of doing mistakes. That was me in the last trade, being afraid of doing mistakes. But I shouldn't be afraid, or you shouldn't be afraid of doing mistakes, because you can learn from them and just become stronger. You don't want to keep doing the same thing and not do mistakes. You're just gonna stay in the same spot. So everything on the higher time frame was good. The rejections, I'm just worried about execution and my stop loss. So my stop loss, well, my entry was here. So all I needed to do was round it off 9. So I would add 19 pips, and I think I added 5 more. Let me go over it again. Yeah, 26. So my stop loss was really good. It was really placed well, because if it were to be hit, all time frames will go bearish, which they all did. So stop loss was right, and then take profit was also right. I was targeting the daily higher high, so that was right. And then my entry was beautiful. I did like the entry. Engulfing, rejecting. We also had a pin bar, rejection pin bar right here. Rejection from EMA, rejection from previous structure point. Just so much that we had rejections on our entry, which is what I like. So honestly, no mistakes here. And I feel good. We just have to keep going. It just didn't, the probabilities didn't work out on this trade. And yeah, it's the only thing we're working with, probabilities. We shouldn't beat ourselves from each of these losses, because we took the choice to take these trades. And we shouldn't, like I said, beat ourselves up for losing a trade, telling us that we're a bad trader or that we suck, we're never gonna make it and stuff like that. That's just gonna bring you down, and it's just gonna make you do bad decisions. So trading is just a probability game. Sometimes you can be right, just like I was, and still lose the trade. Or you can have the best setup, best entry, everything, and still lose the trade. So this game is just about probabilities. You can win or lose, but you shouldn't beat yourselves up for losing trades or also winning trades. You shouldn't be hyping yourself up, because you can have the best week and then have like the rest of the month all bad. So you never know what's gonna happen. All you gotta do is you gotta keep doing what you gotta do. Execution has to be at your best, following your plan. Following my plan, staying patient for the moves, waiting for what I want to wait for, and staying disciplined. And that's about it. I will start a new challenge, and I will also post, me starting the new challenge. I might start it next week so I don't get, days eliminated from the 30-day rule. So I'm gonna see when I will start the new challenge based off how next week's opportunities look like. But for the rest of this week, I won't trade because it's already Thursday, so we only got two more good sessions. So it's not a point to. There's no point for me to enter a trade the last 2 days of market open. But yeah, I really thought I was gonna pass it in the second try. No, actually, I did really think I was gonna pass it first try, but it did not happen. Honestly, it is possible. You just have to go over the rules, and you have to be smart about this. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, you guys, this trade was just a loss. Didn't work out. Everything was right, and after each trade, whether it was a winner or a loser, I'm gonna review it in the video and be honest about it. Thank you guys, and I will update you guys next week, and let's see what happens.